Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Good morning, everyone. This is David Parra. You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, with another very important subject. Today's subject is Latino leaders wanted. Latino leaders wanted. So we'll be talking about a very important program here in Phoenix. It's the Hispanic Leadership Institute by Valle del Sol. We have 6 guests today. I think this is probably the most we've had in any show. So we'll be introducing our guest shortly. First of all, let me say that what is a leader? I got some definitions from Google, as always, right? A leader is a person who leads or commands a group, an organization, or a country. Leaders in medicine, we have leaders in medicine, in science and education. We have leaders in social work, leaders in faith, leaders in government, leaders like our parents. Parents are also leaders, grandparents, teachers, activists. And there has to be some reasons. There has to be a cause, right, for leadership. And in other words, the why. We have examples. Martin Luther King Jr. was a leader and had a cause. Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, etc. Many in Arizona. Today in Arizona, we have an organization that cares about leaders and has a leadership program, the Hispanic Leadership Institute. With us today is Kurt Shepard, and Kurt is the president and CEO of Valle del Sol. Angela Flores, the chief development officer with Valle del Sol. We have Adam Lopez. How do you pronounce your last name? Falk. And he is the leadership program manager. We also have Leticia de la Vara. And are you with the New Teachers Project?
Yes.
I got it right because I was only sent the acronym TNTP.
Correct.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We have Zoilo Felix, the vice president of College Going Initiatives, Be a Leader Foundation. And Josh Nunez, the founder and attorney. You're an attorney. Welcome. Nunez and Associates. Well, so welcome everyone, and we're going to be talking about again leadership. I believe everything that has happened in the country and the world has had leaders. Leaders are crucial. In a sense, we all participate, but there's always someone. There's always one with the vision and with the skills and with the training that takes a lead. And I was just wondering, Kurt, you are the CEO, president and CEO of Valle del Sol. Why Valle del Sol? Why have a leadership development institute? Welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Well, fortunately, I inherited this program. It was already in place when I became CEO. So 30 years ago, people in the Latino community looked around and wondered why there weren't more Latinos on boards, commissions, and in leadership positions in the community. And the feedback came back from the greater community that, there weren't candidates ready to serve in those positions. That's why they weren't being selected. So the leadership at Valle del Sol at the time decided to start the Hispanic Leadership Institute to help prepare folks in the Latino community to be able to assume those positions. And of course, over the years, while it served that purpose, it was also involved to leadership in many capacities. Folks serve in many ways, be it on in the communities for block watches, PTAs. It's a very personal thing when you talk about leadership. While certainly we have elected officials and people on boards and commissions, we have folks that serve in grassroots purposes also. So those also serve very important purposes. When you talk about leadership, it takes on many different faces, and all those faces are needed to make sure that the voice of the community is represented at all the tables. So again, that's why that exists. That's why we continue to do it today. And again, I was just lucky enough that 30 years ago, people were smart enough to start this.
30
and we can
years
shepherd
ago?
it. Yep.
Are you telling me HLI has been around 30 years ago?
30 years, and we have
Wow.
Over 1,800 graduates.
1,800. You know, I joined the 2017 class, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. But I didn't know you've been around for so long. This is amazing. I'm so glad we're doing a show. The whole show, 60 minutes worth, just to talk about the Hispanic Leadership Institute by Valle del Sol. Now, it's interesting because when we hear the word leader, you think of big things. You think of Martin Luther King Jr. You think of, Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez. But you mentioned school boards. You mentioned platforms that are usually, or probably people don't think that need leaders. And that was one of the things that I was very impressed when I took this training or participated in the institute, that you're not telling people what to do, but you're just providing training, and then the people basically go on and use that training to serve the community. So are you saying that leaders, that they don't have to be like superstars, they can be just in a school board, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think all people who lead are superstars. I think, as you said, there's different levels of leadership, and certainly not to take away from folks who aspire to be in those more public leadership roles, if you will. I think that's very, very important, particularly in this time where we need strong public leaders. But those folks who lead behind the scenes at the grassroots level are just as important. So I think they're all superstars. So I don't necessarily have a dividing line between a public elected official and someone who's working at grassroots level. I think all those people are superstars.
Can you tell us a little bit? I don't know if this is more for Angela, but either one of you, about the history of this program. I'm interested in learning who came up with the idea, who were the ones who started it.
Sure. So we call it HLI folklore, but our understanding is that at the time, Paul Luna, who is now the president and CEO of Helios, was a loaned executive and was doing work with United Way. And during his time with United Way, he was going to community meetings, and the question continued to be raised, as Kurt mentioned, that there were decisions being made about Latino communities without any Latino representation being on those decision-making bodies. And so the conversation began, what do people need to know to be able to access those institutions of authority and influence? And so the program started in 1987, and our first educational partner was South Mountain Community College. And then in the mid 90s, we took a quick break. I think we took a year off and then moved it to ASU. So ASU has been our educational partner ever since. The first programs until about 6 years ago, we ran programs anywhere from 17 to about 24 participants. Thanks to our population shift and demographics, that those numbers have gone up. So now we have approximately 30 seats in the main Phoenix program. We typically get around 60 to 70 applications for the program. So we have to weed out anybody who, we're looking for people who have some level of community engagement when they're walking in the door.
So you don't just take anybody. There's an application process and an interview and all that.
Correct.
Good
Absolutely,
stuff.
yes. We have, while Phoenix is our flagship program, we do have other programs throughout the state. We have a Hispanic Leadership Institute in the Copper Corridor area that covers Superior, Miami. We have one in Tucson, one in Yuma County, one in Pinal County, one for the East Valley, so Mesa, Tempe, Chandler, Gilbert, and one for the West Valley, so Avondale, Peoria, Glendale, Tolleson. And then we have our Phoenix program.
That there has to be a strong conviction and a vision to be spreading this thing all through the state. Can you share just a little bit about how you feel about this program, how critical you think it is?
I think, we've really learned that leadership en masse, as Kurt was mentioning, having leaders at all levels in the community is what really shifts a community to be centered around the people who actually live in it. Mm-hmm. And so that's really critical. We have a rule at Valle del Sol that we don't take the program somewhere and propose it to anyone. Mm-hmm. Those are communities that have invited us in, who have seen a need themselves, because the community has to want it more than Valle del Sol does. And quite frankly, people throughout the state want it more. They, including Leticia and Suelo and Josh, as alumni of the program, they're running the curriculum, right? They're helping us design it. They're helping us understand, as experts in their field, what leaders need to know in order to be effective.
Do you have more Adams to help with the other sessions outside of Phoenix?
Adam is responsible for all of the portfolios within the program. Mm-hmm. But we have advisory boards that are run by alumni and community members that help us design curriculum that is specific to that community. So we aren't taking a cookie cutter approach and taking Phoenix's curriculum into Tucson, for instance, or Tucson's curriculum into Yuma, right? We are developing it specifically for that community. And our alumni have a really big hand in helping us do that.
And Angela, you engaged with us in 2017 here in Phoenix, and even though your title says that you're the Chief Development Officer, I gather just from hearing you that I believe you have some background in training. Am I correct?
I ran HLI for 5 years before Adam took over. Okay. So HLI certainly has a very, very special place in my heart. Mm. Mm-hmm.
What part of the work of Valle is this training? Is it like a full-time thing? I mean, it is a full-time job pretty much. Welcome, Adam.
So, yeah, David, I thought you got tired of seeing me every week.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
So this is, Valle del Sol does a lot of programs here in Arizona. We do behavioral health and primary care, serving a population, a lot of folks that are underserved and need access to care, or even have never sought care themselves. So we do a lot of community-based programs in that way. So leadership is part of our plan to bring community health to the community. We see people coming through our program as an opportunity for them to take those leadership positions in what they care about in their communities, in their neighborhoods. But they're able to really bring change to those folks who aren't leaders, in the traditional sense of elected officials or anything like that, or individuals who are looking for somebody to help organize the community or looking for access to care, things like that. We do in this last class, especially with you, we did a first big year of working on the social determinants of health. Mm. And so we found that the people are affected by this stuff because of their education level, because of criminal things in their past, because of environmental impacts in their community. And we want our leaders to come out of our program and work on those because they will affect the overall greater community health, which will affect a lot of the patients we serve.
I know you're not supposed to praise yourselves. I mean, we're not supposed to, but I have to believe that you have a deep conviction about this program. And what would you like to see about, in terms of people coming into the program? Are you seeing the numbers that you want? Would you like to see more?
Well, I think for myself and everybody who works on the program statewide, we really do believe in the power of Latino leadership. We believe in the power of diverse leaders taking the leadership roles in the areas that they're passionate about. So we are really happy with a lot of the applications we get in, and we usually, specifically for a Phoenix program, we get about double the amount of seats we have open in the class. We get applications. Wow. We have a lot of people and even after class, our applications already closed this year, and I'm still getting calls, people asking, is it too late to sign up? So we're really happy with the leaders that are taking notice of the program, want to be a part of it. And we have people who have been here for generations. We also have people who have just recently moved here and see this as an opportunity to learn more about the community they now live in.
We have to go on our first break. You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, and the subject today is Latino leaders wanted. You are wanted, right? Se buscan. And we are addressing leadership in the Hispanic community, and I'm still amazed that an organization such as Valle del Sol saw the need and jumped in and started this program. I as I said earlier, I joined the 2017 class. One of the best things I've ever done. And so coming back, when we're on break, I was saying that this program is really not too demanding. It's almost like a subtle, easy to take, but the content, it's amazing. And the infusions that you get, the visions, the knowledge of the community, of the key players. I'm not kidding you, but that training helped me to put this show together. Many of the folks that I bring on the show, I got to know in HLI. So it is an unbelievable institute, an unbelievable training. So how did you put it together? How did it become what it is today? I mean, I'm not kidding you. People come to a training and they think you're going to have like 3 to 5 hours of reading every night. And it's really not that. It's more of a vision. It's more of a, testimonials of people who have been in the training and the experience. And how did you put it together? What was the thinking behind it and to get it to where it is today? Anybody?
So we want the programs, and so for those who don't know about the makeup of it, it's once a week. It's about 3 hours an evening once a week, and we really want it to be something that's interactive. We want them to be able to meet these leaders, to hear the facts that they need and gain the data that they need moving on in their work, but also to interact with them. We want them to have an opportunity to debrief and discuss with each other in the class, to hear those different viewpoints and to strengthen their own arguments or hear something that's different than they've been around. But the formation of the curriculum, the formation of a session, it's months in advance of work. But it's also kind of to the history of the program, it's years in advance of work, because we go back years to look at old curriculums. We go back years to talk to people who've been alumni of our program and many years separated from the year that we're in at that point, to learn more from them, to bring them back in to talk, to have them as part of the discussion, to have them as part of the planning for that. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, to bring people in there knowing that they have a full day of work, knowing that they're giving up time with their family, with their children, with any of their other pursuits that they might have. We want to, in that time that we have with them every week, to be as strong of a program as possible so they can take as much information as they can forward.
Part of it, I think, is tearing down the idea of barriers to access of leadership. One of the things we typically hear through the interview process, and certainly myself, while I'm an Arizona native, I moved to Phoenix a little over 20 years ago. And when I came here, I didn't know the landscape of leadership. I didn't have access to Latino leaders. Right? And I was really intimidated, and HLI helps tear away those barriers and help people in our community understand that they're leaders too, and that the folks who are leaders in our community are regular, everyday people, and that we are absolutely accessible. The curriculum certainly has evolved over the years. While you say it may not be very demanding, I will say that the internal work that a participant has to go through is rigorous.
Definitely.
Right? You're being asked to think about institutional and structural issues that present challenges for the very community that you live within, right? You live, you play, you work within. And so asking people to sit with that and to look at truths through data, right? We try to really focus on having accurate data around things like education, economic development, so that people understand how that data is impacting the Latino community.
Can you, either of you, give us a little bit more information about areas that you seek to touch in somebody's inner being, data issues, and that through the classes you expose them to? You talked about the health issues that our Latino community has with the social determinants of health, which is a big item. Education, I remember that education was a big item. Politics, or I don't know if we should call it civic engagement. So all this issue seems to be like the structure of what you, or what the classes bring in to kind of build that knowledge-based data and kind of deal with something inward too.
So as Angela had mentioned before the break, was talking about going in each of our programs, we have an advisory committee that comes together to work on planning the curriculum for the next year. Some years we're going to pull out a session and put a different session in that's going to be really pertinent to what's going on and affecting the Latino community in that area or in greater Arizona today. So there's a lot of, on our end and on our advisory committee's end, making sure that we are putting together a program that gives them the most bang for their buck. We want them to really know about the issues that are affecting Arizona today. And then, when we put the issue down, we go there and find the people that are experts about that point today. Mm-hmm. So for like education's sake, we're talking a lot about vouchers in Arizona. We're talking about the access to education equity. We're going to find people that focus on those right now. And in 5 years, we might not be having that discussion. It'll be something completely different. Right. So we'll find speakers that can talk specifically on that. But we want them, no matter what the issue is, from going to the state capitol for Government Day, for teaching our participants how to interact with the media, for teaching them how to, or giving them the tools they need to know about education so they can go out and really be a part of that process. We want them to come in and we have a rule in the program that's what's said there stays there, because we want it to be a safe space where they can explore their own internal ideas, explore the ideas of the other participants in the program, and really formulate what they believe to be is the best way to be a leader in the community and how they can engage.
Give it like they're forming their own personal platform.
And I don't think I had as clear a picture as I do now, thanks to that institute, about education, about health. And even you gave a lot of information about how to practically start to join the board, board members and legislators, and you present a lot of information about the options that we all have, and I guess it depends on each individual that will be attracted to this or to that area. But again, it's just an unbelievable opportunity to see the state, to see the Hispanic community as you have never seen it. I mean, I don't believe that by yourself you can have this kind of picture that the institute paints, and I'm telling you, I'm already thinking of ways to have my two kids, my daughter and my son, how to get them into this institute, because
HLI 2030.
I know. The thing is that a lot of times, people think that, I'm Hispanic, I'm Latino. I know, but you really don't. And this kind of opportunity to be in such a training through the speakers and the classes and the testimonials from individuals, it just paints a picture like nothing, like nothing can, and by yourself. So it is just an unbelievable experience.
Look, our HLI alumni are the bright spot in Arizona, in my opinion. Right. When I hear some of the rhetoric and some of the vitriol being spewed about Arizona, that's not the Arizona I know. Right? The Arizona I know is being led by this amazingly committed, educated, passionate group of alumni in all corners of the state. And that good work is what keeps the wheels of justice rolling.
Yeah. I believe I was the oldest of that group. Most of the 33, I believe there were like 33 of us, 30 to 33, were young students who just, you could say in their late 20s, 25, 30. And I was very, very amazed at the quality of folks that you had on that 2017 class. It was just an unbelievable class. By the way, the Facebook page group was set up, and we're still in touch.
we find people at all stages of their professional careers seeking out the program to be a part of it. So we'll have a lot of people that are on the beginning stages of their profession, and we have people who are decades in, which really allows us to have a good mix, and a lot of those personal stories come out in the class to really learn from each other, grow from each other, and find opportunities to collaborate.
Does the phrase baptism in fire somewhat fits your situation, Adam? Because I see you're all over the place
in
having to engage in these big matters, and you do a great job, by the way.
It kind of is. I went through HLI myself, but it's always. There's never a typical day of being a facilitator in that program. Sometimes we think that the issue that we bring forward is going to be very controversial, and we're going to have a lot of discussions. We have nothing. Right. And then sometimes we have an issue that we think is this is just something that everybody knows about, and that's the discussion that goes way past the end of class. So now, it's always a learning experience.
Your last name, Falk, you said, it implies that you probably have, your father is Anglo-Saxon?
Yeah, my dad's a German guy from the Midwest, and my mom is a multi-generational Mexican American here from Arizona.
So that makes you a very interesting person with all kinds of cultural, experiences, and actually that basically makes you a person who understands the Latino and then the Anglo-Saxon and how they interact. And so I really appreciated that aspect of your person and being in that one can see brought forth in everything that you did in 2017.
Well, and I appreciate that. And what we see is the Latino community, as we continue moving on, there's going to be more melding of cultures. There's going to be more, more change in what we look like. Yeah. And so I guess I'm kind of as the mutt right now. I'm on the forefront of that. But it's given me an opportunity myself when I went through the program to figure out what is my Latino experience and to help bring that forward for those in this last class and future classes.
And the last thing I want to say before we go on our second break, you did make it very clear that this was a very nonpartisan thing because,
correct.
I mean, there is a kind of a sense that if you're Latino, you must be Democrat, right? There's something about that. I don't know. But you make it very clear that this is a nonpartisan and people from any kind of political persuasion fits in and is welcome. Correct?
Yeah, that's really important to the program. Even when we're planning each program day out, we do our best to present as many sides of the issue as we can fit in that 3-hour time span. I will say that we're not always successful in getting more right-leaning views in terms of presenters, but that doesn't mean we don't try every opportunity to get those presenters there.
You're welcome.
So they can reach out to you if someone's out there, they can offer something in the sphere of training. You welcome them.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's welcome. We want to have that more because when we talk about, at least for me personally, and I think that HLI does that well. When you talk about leadership, one of the things that you have to do is get to a point of not me. I didn't create the term. It's called cognitive dissonance. There has to be a point where all these folks come to us are passionate, but it has to get to a point where you now are knowing what you know, but knowing that that's not enough, and you now have to get to the point where you're willing to grow and learn to communicate and exchange ideas with people who don't share exactly the same ideas you do. And I think it's important for us to have that. So as Angela said, this is nonpartisan, and we welcome folks from all parts of the political spectrum to be part of this growth to move the community forward. So yeah, if there are folks out there listening thinking just because they might be a person who's a Republican or independent like myself that they may not be welcome, that's not true. We want all ideas to be part of this discussion, this growth in the community.
Perfect. We have 3 alumni here, and we're going to hear their experience and testimonies and what they actually did after they participated in the Institute. So stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate, Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, Latino Leaders Wanted. We are highlighting Valle del Sol's Hispanic Leadership Institute, one of a kind. We hope that there will be more, because the more the better, but at this point, you're kind of like unique. You're pretty much the only ones in the state that has this type of program. I want to remind all of you who are listening by radio that you can follow us on AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, on Facebook. We are also, all these shows are edited and reposted as podcasts. So you can also, if you like my daughter, she downloads the programs, and she's on program 11, actually. She wrote to me this week and says, Dad, I'm on program 11. So this is program 38. And so again, feel free to reach out to access these programs via the radio, via Facebook, or the podcast. Again, the subject today is Latino Leaders Wanted, and not only wanted, but much needed. As I said earlier, we have Leticia de la Vara, and Leticia, you are with the New Teacher Project, better known as TNTP.
Yes.
Almost like TNT.
Almost,
but we have the P at the end. Tell us a little bit about TNTP, and then you are an alumni.
Yes.
We would like to hear how your experience went, and then how you use that training in your career.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me. This has actually been really exciting and very hard to sit quietly while I listen to them explain the program, because it is truly transformational. I've loved every bit of it. And even after I graduated from the program in 2009, continue to volunteer and serve in any way I can to help the program attract more alumni and keep the alumni engaged. But I am currently a partner at TNTP, like you mentioned, and we're a national education nonprofit focused on ending educational inequalities for children. So we do that by partnering with school districts across the country, municipalities, state education agencies, and I particularly focus on community engagement aspects, which is relatively new for the organization. Actually, they brought me on to kind of spearhead some of those efforts about 2 years ago, and also working on policy, and particularly for me, the policy lens as it affects civil rights aspects to not only students' access to quality education, but the way families feel they're able to engage in education. And HLI was a huge part of that. I think you mentioned before that a lot of us feel as Latinos that we know what it means to be Latino, and that's true. A lot of us do very much know, not because of our schools, but because of our families, who we are, where we come from, and what that means in terms of servant leadership. But HLI really hones in on that and also tells you, how do you access the system so that the opportunities that you have don't stop with you? How do you open the door to allow others in? And what does it mean for you as a leader to make sure other people are included? I think that's a big piece of HLI. When you guys were talking about the structure, it is very different. Most leadership programs are, 1 day a month, you're 8 hours there, and people are angling to be at the top. I think HLI is different in that it's more of the Latino approach. It's poco a poco. It's 3 hours weekly. You're not just building the curriculum content. You're building your trust. You're building your friendships. You're building your relationships. And that's why it's so transformational. People are able to shed their guards. They're able to have good days and bad days, engage and not engage, because it is so clustered and so close together as opposed to like just being once a month.
Right. Josh, you are an attorney. And you founded the Nunez and Associates, correct?
Correct.
And what year did you graduate from HLI?
Well, I graduated in 2016. Yeah,
just a year before.
From our reports, it has been the best class ever.
Oh, wow. It's interesting. Every single person says the same thing.
30 years of history, and 2016 was it. But, 2016.
I didn't mean to, I didn't ask you about your formation academically, but you said, in policy
Yes.
What is your background academically?
Academically, I have a bachelor's in nonprofit management.
Perfect.
So, and I've previously done not just policy at the education level, but when I worked with, Unidos US now, but formerly NCLR, civic engagement, immigration, healthcare, criminal justice reform.
We're going to have to reach out to you for other subjects on this show when it comes to to policy. So going back to Josh, congratulations. I understand being an attorney is not an easy career, but anyway, congratulations. So what was your experience like, and how do you feel that it affected the way you moved on after that in your career?
Well, my experience was fantastic. I think professionally, the way I benefited was I built a network of like-minded Latino leaders, servant leaders, and that was probably the most impactful thing. So I stay in touch with every one of the participants, and we collaborate on different projects. Every now and then we'll get hit with a certain news wire that comes through the pipeline, and I reach out to people who I met through HLI, people in my cohort. Right. I now serve on 4 boards, and had I not done HLI, I wouldn't have served on boards. It just wasn't in my sort of radar. But I committed at the end of HLI. There's always a commitment that you have to make, and I committed to taking that on. And so now I'm a member of 4 boards, and I've got some of my cohort colleagues who are also part of that part of those boards, and so my professional network has grown because of HLI. Personally, when I signed up for HLI and I was accepted, I thought it was going to be sort of an educational, transactional type of experience, but it was more than that. It was very challenging personally, and it was transformative. I feel like I was equipped with data, with information, with knowledge, and more importantly, with the understanding that Latinos are disadvantaged in many ways because of policies, because of decisions that the powers that be are making. And we have to dismantle a lot of that decision making. We have to be sort of at the table. Otherwise, the policies are just going to be the policies, and they're going to have an effect, and it's going to trickle down, and we're going to be disadvantaged. And so, for me, the program has been, highly a high point in my career, my professional career.
Well, for you to be a member of 4 entities, that says a lot. That says a lot. Yeah. So now let's come to Zoilo.
He's in class 2016. I'm class 2015. We're trying to...
15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
Zoilo, you've been with us before, and you represent also Be a Leader Foundation. And I believe, if I remember, you did speak to us at least once, if not more. But just tell us your experience also on the Institute and how you feel that help you in
I like yourself. I came into the program a little later in my career, and quite interestingly, when we started thinking about who could go from our organization to HLI 2015, I said, I've got a list of so-and-so, and I think so-and-so can do it. And our CEO and president, Melissa, said, well, have you done HLI? And I said, no, I have not. And she said, well, you're going to apply, and so you can go to experience it. And so I had followed HLI from afar. I had tons of friends that I went to college that have gone through it, and I worked in another community and in the East Valley, so I was kind of watching everything happen from afar. And so when I got the opportunity to be a part of the class 2015, I was excited. I mean, one of the things that HLI really does is it activates the Latino leaders, right? So we always talk about how leadership leaders are everywhere. That's true, but at some point you have to activate yourself and find your passion and find that moment when you say, you know what, I need to do something. And so, and I think HLI really provides that accelerated pace for you to actually say, okay, what am I going to do with this, right? And sometimes to use a runner's metaphor, you get into a pace group, and you get into these guys or gals that can run super fast and you're trying to keep up. That's what I see about HLI. I see I got into this pace group of amazing individuals who are doing amazing work in the community. And sometimes I'm like, dude, you got to keep up. I mean, Adam and I were in the same class, and I see all the stuff that he's doing. And we obviously in my class, we still follow each other on Facebook and on social media. And I see every once in a while, I'll either hear a voice on the TV, and it's like, oh, she was in my class. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh no, then you start to panic a little, and you start to think, it's like, well, what am I doing? And
right.
But everybody has their own lane that they're comfortable within, and for me, I've continued to be advocating for additional Latino leaders to take part of HLI as part of the Be a Leaders Foundation. We normally send one of our employees each year, which is interesting because we're not very big. So at some point we're gonna saturate our market of potentials, and so we've had 3 other individuals since I've been at Be a Leader. It's important for us, and it's important for us to have a whole staff member who understands everything that is going on in Latino leadership. We're involved in education, college access, and college success, so we're content experts in that. But when we talk about systemic issues, policy, things like that, it makes us better at our work, right? And so, and that's vital. For me, it was transformative in the sense that you got to wake up. There's a lot going on. You can read all you want. You can digest as much information, but those discussions that we had in those class meetings was amazing. And to see the younger generation of millennials coming through who are pushing social justice issues. Do you necessarily have to agree with the tactics and the strategy? No, but you have to respect the ability for them to do that. And that is more vital to me than anything, is that development of respect on how people do lead in their own communities and push advocacy for Latinos. So.
And I believe this program really connects leaders, because I have to come back to my 2 oldest children. I cannot say that they don't care. They do care, but they're not connected.
That's correct.
And one of the things that the training does, the Institute, it connects you. You leave there connected. And if you're not connected, you're pretty much a loner. You're by yourself. So one of the most valued items that I got from there is that I felt I was more connected with a ton of people. And then all the events that we have in Phoenix, the Valle Profiles of Success and the Esperanza Awards by Chicanos and Friendly House and all the organizations, we see each other there. So this is, and I remember we use the phrase HLI Familia, right? Yeah. So we are a familia, and I believe that this institute really connects all the Hispanic leaders, if you will, because if not, we're just we will care, but we will be loners. And this thing, for it to make an impact, we kind of have to be together.
Right. The network is complex and it's broad, and I think it takes that complexity of networking and thinkers to solve some of the issues that we have in the Latino community or in our state, which are complex as well, right? So complexity begets complexity. So I think we're aligned, we're magnetized, we're all pointing in the same direction, different lanes, but. And that's what HLI did for me, and I've seen it transform some of our staff members into that amazing leadership that they have within. So
right. Why Latino leadership? Why is it important now and to the future of the state? That's going to be the next topic that we'll address in our last segment. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, Latino Leaders Wanted. And this is the last segment. We want to talk about why Latino leadership is important now into the future of the state. I have to say that leadership is important at all times, but particularly in Arizona, and I assume a few other states, but I have to say in Arizona there is much needed and is crucial. The demographics are changing, and that just requires us to activate. So can we start the conversation? I think that all of us can jump in. What makes Latino leadership unique?
I think what makes Latino leadership unique, and this touches also on like the structure of the program itself, is that it really comes from a perspective of it is not about the individual. We call ourselves familia for a reason. It is about the collective. It is about ensuring that what you want to move forward is not about what you will personally profit from, but about what is better for the greater good. And that is why Latino leadership is so important, because it is intrinsically tied to what will make Arizona better, what will make Arizona stronger, because we are focused on what are we leaving for the next generation. It's just how we approach leadership. It's how we approach leadership in our families. It's how we approach leadership at work. It's how we approach leadership in terms of aspirations we have for the next generation. It's not just about the individual. It is about the collective. And that is what we need right now. We're seeing the ramifications of me-focused leadership at the national level. We're seeing how people, when you are more focused on the charisma of a persona versus the message behind that persona, we see what happens. Right. And Latinos are not, I mean, it's just definitely generalization, but for Latinos, family is central. And when you're talking about family, it is never a me first topic. It is a collective topic. Right. And that's what we bring to the table. That's why it's so important for us to be pushing ourselves to ensure that we are making our voices heard, to ensure that we are looking for opportunities to not just acquiesce power, but actually to take it and to lead with it for all.
As you mentioned, the demography is changing, right? And as that demography changes, we will be the majority, not just in Arizona, but in other states throughout the U.S. And the question that I often ask Adam when we're working on curriculum is, how are we going to lead? Right? Are we going to lead the way we've been led? Because we've seen what that's done. Or are we going to show really what true leadership can look like and showcase what community leadership can look like, what shared leadership can look like, and that those results can benefit all, not just one specific community, and certainly not just one specific socioeconomic community.
How urgent is this? Can we take our time? Or is this something urgent? I honestly feel that there is an urgency. Urgency, just like there is an urgency for education to have a breakthrough, to have a breakthrough in health. I believe that there is a breakthrough that needs to be experienced in also.
I think the urgency has always been there. Okay. I think no matter who the marginalized population is, I mean, we focus on what we know, Latinos. Right. But the urgency is always there. If wherever there is a population who is not being treated fully as a human, who is not afforded the respect that they deserve as a human, there is a need, there is an urgency for leadership. This program taps into identifying who is your constituency, what do you most connect with, and it could be immigration, it could be foster care youth, it could be education, it could be healthcare, and within that there is a role that you play where you can take your cultural identity and your business acumen and elevate the issues for the communities that are most disempowered.
Well, I mean, I think in the work that I do, and I work with school age, K-12 system and informal education, but it's important for them to see that the generation ahead of them is advocating for them and being advocates for their futures. And I think I just saw a statistic earlier this week is 46% of 46% under 18 are Hispanic or identify as Latino. So they're eventually going to be in that role of voting and civic engagement. And so you have to lead and let them know that it's going to be okay. We're going to, even through all of the muddling of what's on the national scene, it's going to be okay. And I look at those generations and the millennial generation right now, that the Latinos and the way they lead, and you become inspired. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's really keeping up with everybody and making sure that we advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. And that's what I got out of HLI, is that ability, like, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, you have to advocate for those who are disenfranchised, or else it's okay to be nice, but it's better to be a good human being, a good person. And I think as you develop Latino leaders in our community, the more of that understanding that's out there, the better we are as a overall community at large. So.
Mm-hmm. And there may be groups out there that are non-Latinos that may be, I don't know, apprehensive, afraid, or so. What we're talking about is not that we're going to be doing anything different than what is happening. We just need to be participatory, right? We need to participate in the life of our nation, legislatively, academically, and in every sense. It's not like we're going to be doing something different. It's just being a participant, right?
Sure. We talk about this actually in the program, that our goal isn't to, I'm trying to think of the metaphor I use is how many of us host Thanksgiving, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're asking for is, when you're hosting Thanksgiving, you're not asking somebody to give up their seat. You're asking for them to add a leaf to the table, mm-hmm. right? You're making the table bigger, mm-hmm. so there's more participation. So there's more voices. So there's more opportunity for different vantage points to help make better informed decisions.
Right.
And from a practical standpoint, because I'm a practical, pragmatic person, I'm a living example of the inclusiveness of the Latino community. I'm not Latino, and I'm the CEO of Valle. So when our organization and this program talks about inclusiveness, it's fully talking about the full community. It's not about Latinos wanting to take over. It's about wanting to have representation, but in that representation also being inclusive of everyone. So, and as I said, it's from a practical standpoint, I get to actually live that every day, and I feel very honored and humbled to be in the position I am, to be able to be able to be part of that, to move forward this organization and this program, and to work with the Latino community, but also to be a person who's not Latino, be part of that, and go across the boundaries, so that we work with all communities to try to get everyone's voice represented. As Leticia said, something that's bigger than us, not a me approach to solving problems, but a community approach to solving problems.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and all of our programs every year include people who are not Latino. We want people from all ends of the spectrum, from wherever they are in the community, whatever racial background they are, we want them in the program. The program's truly for those who identify as Latino and those who serve the Latino community, for them to come in and learn more about their community, or learn more how to serve the community that they've chosen to be a part of and chosen to serve in their work. But there's something that Angela has said during the program that I've taken on, and we push every single year, is if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Mm. We want leaders who understand how important it is to be diverse leaders, understand the community, to be there for the decision-making process, whether it be for getting the placement for a new street light, all the way to being a higher level elected official working on policy. We want people who are appreciative of the Latino community, are a part of the Latino community, who have embraced the Latino community, to be at that table to help part of that decision-making process.
So this is not about starting a new capital, a new constitution, a new nothing, but just to, we want to make sure that we are at, isn't there a book called Seated at the, what is it?
Seat at the table.
Seated at the table of power, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And this is an amazing and an important point to get across. All we want, and I believe every group, any group in any country, all they want is to be represented, is to participate. And it hasn't always been so. I mean, let's face it, the history of this nation, it's a democracy in progress. But I believe this is a very important point to convey. and so that nobody gets afraid or apprehensive. This is all we want, is to be representative, to be part of this, the life of the nation.
So, and if I could just say, in terms of seeing what the program's about, I invite everybody who's listening to check our website at valledelsol.com and click on Leadership to see all the programs that we do, learn more about those individual programs. If they're interested in applying or have questions about it, they can do so on the website. But we're really, we're open to people who are looking for that opportunity to take control of their leadership, to embrace their story, and to get out there and do the work that needs to be done.
Right. Is the website, is there information for the office in general, for some of you, any of you, or what will they find on the website?
There's general information about Valle del Sol, but there's also a specific tab dedicated to leadership that references and has a page dedicated to each one of the programs.
Right. Okay, we have come to a close. Anybody wants to add anything? We are ready to close. Everybody satisfied with what we did?
Thank you so much for having us. It's really a treat to be able to talk about something that we all love so much, and really acknowledge how much we as Latinos contribute to the landscape in Arizona.
I am very happy and thankful to AARP that I presented this vision to them, that we needed a platform for Latino issues to be addressed, and it's a pleasure to us also to contribute in a small way. So thank you all for being here, and thank you all for listening, and we really trust that this issue was helpful to you. Keep in mind that this program will be loaded on our Facebook page, and you can find it also on podcasts. Thank you for joining. This was AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a great day.